Jared Sachs, a member of South African Jews for a Free Palestine, who is currently in Tunis. Jared, good to be talking to you. A very good afternoon to you. So we understand, Jared, that some of the detainees have started an open-ended hunger strike. What do you know about this?
Hi, good morning to everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. So there have been six South Africans detained and a few hundred people from other parts of the world. And many of the participants have decided to engage in a hunger strike and ensure that they do not take food from the Israeli forces. The Israeli forces have used the fact that they've been fed in previous flotillas as propaganda against them. And so they've decided not to take food to ensure that the propaganda isn't used against them, but also as a form of protest against their detainment and against the starvation of people in Gaza.
And what do we know about their current welfare, their status quo as it stands?
It's hard to tell. We actually don't know much right now. Once they were intercepted, everything went dark. They removed the tracking devices and the video cameras in the boats, and we think that they put them on a much larger vessel and transported them to the port of Ashdod. But they have not allowed lawyers to visit them yet, and we are demanding that they allow our legal team to visit them in Israel. In the meantime, the Israeli government has released a video of the minister Itamar Ben-Gvir taunting the detainees in a large room with a lot of people in it, calling them terrorists and other awful things, even though they're just humanitarians.
Mm. There have been calls, Jared, for protests to be taking place around the world. Is that happening?
Yes, there's protests all over the world. Even immediately when people were being hijacked at sea, there were protests in Italy and in parts of Europe. And then there've been protests in the US. There's been protests here in South Africa as well. In fact, there's a protest going right now, I think, by Parliament. And I'll be heading there after this interview.
Mm. Now, there is another flotilla we understand that is on its way. Could you tell us about this flotilla?
So the other flotilla is called the Thousand Madeleines. And it's a group of 9 boats, now joined also by the Conscience, a very, very large boat, which had previously tried to sail earlier this year, but was sabotaged by drones coming from Israel. And so now this group of 10 boats are on their way to Gaza. I think they're somewhere around Crete, so they're about 3 or 4 days away from Gaza.
Jared, thank you so much for that update. We certainly will be keeping abreast of developments on that front. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jared. That's Jared Sachs. He's a member of the South African Jews for a Free Palestine. So we continue with this particular story and the latest there. And to take this further, we joined on the line by Naeem Jena, Executive Director of the Afro-Middle East Center. Good to have you with us, Naeem. Welcome.
Thank you, Tom.
So a question that many are asking is why countries are not doing more to put pressure on Israel. We've just heard from Jared Sachs that yes, there are protests that are taking place in different parts of the world, but questions are being asked that why is it that what Colombia's president is doing is not being emulated by others?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. I'm not sure that I'm the right person to answer it, but because I'm not in any government. But I think part of the thing is that Israel is able to act with the kind of impunity it does in 2 years of a genocide because it has the protection of this global superpower of the United States. And even with countries, for example, in Europe, we're finding now into the Trump presidency, that there's this great disquiet and concern among European countries that they don't want to do anything that would get them on the wrong side of the new Trump administration. And so they go along with whatever Trump says or remain silent when previously some of them might have objected to some of those things. And the Palestinians are paying the price. And then you have, of course, countries which have taken a strong position but are not willing to go beyond that. And, South Africa, for example, I mean, the very admirable position it took with the ICJ case, which is still, of course, being investigated by the ICJ, the genocide case. But that's as far as South Africa will go. And if you want things to change, then it requires more pressure. South Africa, for example, is the largest supplier of coal now to Israel, coal that is used, for example, to power its AI systems, its AI weapon systems, which are involved in the genocide in Gaza. So there's a number of these kinds of factors, but the United States is in many ways the kind of linchpin around why governments of the world are not doing more.
We're speaking about the protests that have been erupting in different parts of the world. Are these enough? And would world leaders, sit up and start to listen? Or are there economic, trade and investment, financial considerations, power dynamics going to trump the voice of those who are on the streets protesting?
I think it's a mixture. So on the one hand, are they enough? No, because they haven't fully achieved what they're supposed to, which is increasing the pressure on their own governments to pressure Israel. But there are some signs that these protests and actions are having some effect. Apart from the kind of sense of fear of the Israeli lobby internationally about what these things might do, which is an indication in itself. But, for example, this kind of move by certain European governments to recognize a Palestinian state, I don't think that really means much. But that would not have happened if these governments didn't feel that the pressure in their own countries was so substantial that they needed to do something. Even if the something wasn't substantive enough, they needed to do something. So I think that the protests are having some effect, but clearly much more is required in order to change things. I think one of the big places to look at is the United States. I mean, we're finding now that, recent polls, 60% of Americans support the Palestinians rather than Israel, which is a big change over the past few years. Among young people, more than 50% say that they support Hamas, meaning the resistance in Gaza, not Israel. So I think that kind of protest in the United States can also have a big impact. And then we're finding, also this other factor, the kind of split in Trump's MAGA movement, where a big part of them are saying that Israel is not in the U.S. interest, and so things have to change. And I think that these are all things that need to be watched out for. But the real impact on Israel will be two things. One is a stronger American position against Israel, and secondly, what you said earlier on, stronger economic actions by states, by companies. And that's why I'm saying, I made the point about the coal. If South Africa stopped its coal, if other countries stopped trading with Israel, the Israeli economy is in the doldrums at the moment, these kinds of things will have a serious impact and force it to end its genocide.
And talk to us about the trade deal, the Hamas trade deal.
The what deal?
The trade deal with Hamas.
What trade deal with Hamas? You mean the Trump proposal?
Yes, the Trump proposal. Yes.
The Trump peace proposal, called peace proposal. Trump came out with this 20-point plan, which he presented to a number of Arab and Muslim heads of state. and they seemingly accepted that. Now it has come out that the document that he gave to them, which they accepted, and which Palestinians are generally very angry about, but the document that was then came out of the meeting that had with Netanyahu was changed. And so some of those Arabs and Muslims who were at that initial meeting are saying that that's not what they had agreed to. Hamas is now looking, they say, they're looking at that proposal and consulting with the other Palestinian groups. So there's, Islamic Jihad, the Popular Front, Democratic Front, etc. Before they make a decision. There's some tentative suggestion that they might accept the framework of the proposal, but with certain details wanting to be emphasized or changed or clarified. So, for example, Trump initially said that his proposal included Israelis withdrawing from Gaza. Netanyahu, after he met Trump, said no, they agreed that the Israeli army would be able to stay in Gaza. Clearly, for the Palestinians in Gaza, that's a big sticking point, that they want clarity. They're not going to accept any deal where the Israeli army remains for as long as it wants in Gaza. So there are these sticking points, and it doesn't seem like Israel is going to accept that. I mean, the Israelis basically want a situation where the resistance in Gaza capitulates completely, disarms. So what Israel has not been able to achieve in 2 years, which is destroying the resistance in Gaza, it wants the resistance to do voluntarily. And that's not going to fly with the Palestinians. So I think that while the talk now is that there's the Hamas people are looking at the proposal, but also the Israelis haven't really made a decision. Netanyahu might say this or that, but his government hasn't made a decision, and the parliament hasn't made a decision, and there's a good chance that they will reject it, and so we'll be back to a stalemate.
All right. Thank you so much, Naeem Jinnah, for that update this afternoon as we continue watching the developments there regarding the flotilla and more specifically the dynamics between Israel and Palestine. We thank you very much, Naeem Jinnah. He's Executive Director of the Afro-Middle East Center.
The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It's gone exactly